I'd like to start this chapter off by making it abundantly clear that I don't think drugs, prostitution, and gambling are good things. I'm not the kind of person that thinks that we should legalize drugs because I use drugs. I don't think we should legalize prostitution because I use prostitutes. I don't think we should legalize gambling because I gamble all the time. There are always two sides to the argument. On the one hand, with regards to illegal drugs, people say that it's their choice, they're only hurting themselves. On the other hand, they're saying it's a detriment to society, it spawns crime, and the same things for the two. My point is that just like back in the Prohibition days, these three things being illegal actually promotes criminal activity and violence. If you don't know anything about the illegal drug trade or human trafficking and prostitution or anything like that, or illegal gambling, then you really need to read up on it a little bit because these things cause so much crime and are affiliated with so much death and violence. Something really needs to be done about it. Declaring a war on it, fighting it, throwing money at it, obviously hasn't worked, and it hasn't worked for years, so something really needs to be done about it. Me personally, I'm not really interested in fighting a war on drugs. I'm not interested in fighting a war on crime because that implies that there's the possibility that you could lose. I want to annihilate those things. I want to hit them from so many different angles that they don't stand a fucking chance. My goal would be to legalize these three things in certain ways and through later parts of the book and the series, eliminate the need for such things. I want to make it pretty clear, just like in the beginning, I don't think that these are good things, but something needs to be done about them in order to make them go away entirely. I'm not trying to legalize drugs so that they can be around forever and people can do them whenever they want. I'm not trying to legalize prostitution so that I can keep prostitutes around. For me, that's just one step in the process of eliminating prostitution altogether. And if you think you can do that without that, then you probably don't know a lot about prostitution or human nature at all. So I just like to emphasize the reasons why I want these three legalized. For one, I'd like to eliminate them altogether eventually. Two, I'd like to eliminate a lot of the crime, violence, murders, any of that illegal, any criminal activity associated with them. I'd like to help the economy out. All three of these things are billion-dollar-a-year industries, and they're all operating under the table, no taxes, no nothing. I don't know about you, but I don't like the fact that every American citizen that's born is basically born with like a 40, 50 something $1,000 debt over their head because our country is in the hole for so, like, what is it, $14 trillion? And also, the third thing I'd like to do is to help the people that are involved in these industries. I'd like to help the people that are addicted to drugs. I'd like to help the prostitutes that are being victimized every day. I'd like to help the people that are addicted to gambling and lose their life savings over it. I'd like to help all those people. And those are the three reasons why I'd like to legalize it. So now I'd like to point out four ways in which these things can be accomplished. One is obviously legalization. The second part is eliminating paper money. All these businesses, for the most part, I'd say 99% of them operate on paper money only, and that's because it can't be tracked. It can't. Paper money goes wherever it goes, and I know a lot of people enjoy their dollar bills, but unfortunately, that's the only reason why these three illegal markets have been able to survive for as long as they have. If paper money were eliminated, illegal drug dealers wouldn't be walking around with credit card machines, prostitutes wouldn't be walking around with credit card machines, and if they did, good for them. That would just make them easier to track, hunt down, and capture, bring to justice. Doing that would basically eliminate their source of income. Not only that, but legalizing it would give them a huge amount of competition, because who would do something illegal when you have the same opportunity to do something in a legal sense and you won't get in trouble for it? The third part of it would be to increase the penalties for performing these said illegal actions. There's already been a war on drugs and a huge increase in the penalties for illegal drug use, sales, transportation, all that. So that should be pretty good. Penalties for those need to increase pretty severely. So once we can get the pandering laws increased and the solicitation laws increase their penalties, then that should bring that back up to where it should be. And then the fourth thing is to work more closely with the IRS. Once you eliminate paper money and basically corner the market on all three of these things, any activity that's left over, the only way that they're going to be able to operate is through a facade of seemingly legitimate businesses. And not only that, but people will still have the money that they made before. Basically, you'd be able to involve the IRS with hunting down the people that are evading the taxes that they should have paid on all the money that they accrued while doing the illegal business. So with those four things all in combination, you'd be attacking it from four different sides. For one, you'd be competing with it. Two, you'd take away their source of income. Three, you'd make even harder penalties on them for committing the crime. And four, you'd take away all their money that they made before. So they would stand absolutely no chance at that point of making a legitimate business out of illegal activities. The first topic I'd like to discuss is gambling. Now, gambling is already legal in many different places around the country and around the world. My point would be to research any illegal gambling activities, and what I mean by that is basically locating the highest concentrations of illegal gambling, set up a counter legal gambling there, so you'd be able to compete with them. So you're not just taking away people's ability to gamble, you're giving them a legal venue for it. And second, I think that a lot of casinos and other gambling institutions do pretty well. Some of them, I don't know, I know one that I know for sure, they do a pretty good job at emphasizing the fact that if somebody needs help, then you can give it to them. At some casino orientations, when you're first getting a job there, they emphasize that if you feel that you see someone that has a gambling problem, that you should, give them this little Gambler's Anonymous packet or whatever. It helps them identify the fact that they have a problem, and it helps them get connected with resources to help them figure that out. And that's one of the main goals of this chapter entirely is identifying those people that do have a problem. So besides finding those problem illegal gamble areas, the second thing I would like to do is structure the gambling system a little bit better and put a little bit more regulations in there. For one, if you eliminated paper money, you'd be able to track every dollar that went through the gambling system. So people wouldn't be able to claim false gambling winnings to launder drug money, launder prostitution money. They wouldn't be able to do any of that. You'd basically be able to track wherever the money went. You'd be able to figure out who needed the most help. Let's say you developed a system for gambling, not a gambling system like to make money, but a system that would kind of, track people's income, but not in like a Big Brother kind of way. This is probably going to sound bad, but it would make it to where you would track people's gambling. You'd be able to stop them before they started gambling away all their money. Let's say you put a limit on how much money I know this sounds really so bad, but let's say you set up a suggestion system, not really like a limit, like you'd stop them, but you might notify somebody like their husband, their wife, their parents, somebody out there that could get them help, maybe refer them to some Gamblers Anonymous source if they reach certain levels of gambling. So let's say their bank account reached rock bottom, but they didn't get paid and they ended up getting a money transfer from one of their friends or something like that. Let's say that they lied to them and say they needed to fix their car or something like that, and they needed to borrow like $1,000, and then they turned around and used that money to gamble. At that point, you'd be pretty certain that they had a gambling problem, because if you're borrowing money from somebody else just to go gamble, $20, that's not a big deal when you don't have cash on you in the casino, but $100,000, $100 to $1,000 is pretty significant. And that's one of the main points in here, is helping the people that really do have a problem. One of the things that people don't realize about gambling, sex, drug addictions is that they're addictions. It's a sickness. The people that are afflicted by it can't stop. It's all they think about. And if you're sitting back there thinking, all these regulations and suggestions and all this and that, it's just limiting me from doing what I want to do, that's not what it's for. It's for identifying those people that have a really big problem. And that's one of the biggest problems in the illegal gambling, drugs, and prostitution, is that it's difficult, if not impossible, to identify the people that have problems with it until they've hit rock bottom. Like life savings gone to gambling, drugs, prostitution, or, arrested, committing crimes to get more money. By the time it's at that point, it's almost, I'm not saying that if you have a problem with that, it's too late for you, but it's almost too late at that point. And these kind of systems and legalization would actually help to identify those people before it became too big of a problem and before they got too deeply embedded in the system. If you're spending a lot of money and then someone's like, hey, here's the money that you used to have, here's the money that you have now, I think you should probably stop. If you're like, no, 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 fuck you, I'm gonna gamble, I'm gonna do drugs, I'm gonna do whatever I want, then technically that's your call, but at the very least, you'd be informed, and maybe one of your loved ones or somebody like that would be informed so that they could get you the help you need, or you'd be on some sort of wait list or something like that for a consultation about your problem, or something to help identify and help give you treatment on something that you would need treatment for. And that's one of the main things that I would love to integrate into these systems is, for one, a portion of the profits could be dedicated specifically to programs to help people with addictions. So legalizing these things not only would help eliminate all that crime and identify all the people with addictions, but they'd also, the money that went into the system would actually help them with their addictions. And I don't know if you know any drug dealers or prostitutes or anybody like that that goes around handing pamphlets for anti-addiction, because I sure don't. Because they don't do that. They don't want to lose their business, but that's just how it goes. And due to time considerations and whatnot, I'm going to have to split this video into 4 different parts, I believe. So this will be the end of part 1, and hopefully I can get all the rest of the information into the other parts and you enjoy all of it. So for now.